NTA International News.
President Buhari addresses Nigerians in Dakar, admonishes elites to stop making expensive demands on the federal government. Federal government commits to driving Nigeria's economy with tourism, says President Buhari. Chairman House Committee on Insurance assures NTA management of better cover for staff and equipment. Federal Road Safety Corps denies claims that its staff now bear arms. Hello, it's my pleasure to welcome you to NTA International News this hour. I'm Nancy Godi Angunihu. President Muhammadu Buhari has strongly admonished Nigerian elites to stop making expensive demands on the federal government, saying, should things be done the old way as they desire, our country will remain impoverished. This was while he granted audience to a select group of Nigerians resident in Senegal and Côte d'Ivoire on the margins of the International Forum on Peace and Security in Dakar. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo has more.
At the interactive session, President Muhammadu Buhari and the diaspora community exchanged views on the nation's fundamental problems and the concerted efforts being made towards the restoration of normalcy for sustainable growth and development of the country. President Muhammadu Buhari was emphatic that his administration is genuinely focused on correcting past mistakes by dismantling obstacles to national prosperity. He said after 1.5 years of a popular mandate anchored on change, his administration is surely on the right track to improve the nation's image by entrenching probity and accountability in governance. The problems, he however said, are so enormous that maximum cooperation of Nigerians, particularly the elite, will be needed.
Please reflect on the condition the country finds itself, on whatever demands they are going to make, because it's very, very insensitive for us that are leading the government, for people to make very, very expensive demands or pretend that things can be done as usual. They can't. They can't. We have no other country but Nigeria. We may as well stay and correct these human mistakes that have, some of which have become a culture, to make sure that we rehabilitate the country.
On the welfare of Nigerians in the diaspora, the president said the federal government will continue to improve good neighborliness and improve the negative perception about Nigerians abroad. Both the president of the Nigerian community in Côte d'Ivoire, Adebayo Yahaya, and his Senegalese counterpart, Osas Edegin, commended President Buhari for his bold and unflinching fight against corruption and urged him not to relent as Nigerians are praying for his success. The senior special assistant to the president on diaspora matters, Abike Dabri Erewa, coordinated the meeting.
We find that Nigerians are doing great things, developing economies of other countries. I believe that especially at this challenging time, Nigerians in the diaspora can play a major role.
It's been quite positive to see the quality of Nigerians in the diaspora, the quality of the work, the quality of the businesses they manage, and the way they have settled and integrated with their host communities.
And I think these people can be of good assets to us, and they seem to be good ambassadors of Nigeria, are all in a kind of support to Mr. President.
The meeting with Nigerians was part of activities marking President Buhari's first official visit to Senegal. From Dakar, Senegal, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
And here in Nigeria, the 2016 Abuja Carnival is about now winding down at the Eagle Square. At a command performance last night, President Muhammadu Buhari reiterated his administration's determination to use tourism as a vehicle to drive economic growth and wealth creation. Anthony Forson reports.
Muhammadu Buhari, while reaffirming the strategic role culture and tourism can play, assured that his administration will ensure that the sector is provided the enabling environment to thrive. President Muhammadu Buhari was represented by the Minister of Federal Capital Territory, Mohamed Musa Bello, at the special command performance.
The issue of economic growth, which is the primary focus of this event, is one of the central issues of the change agenda of this administration.
On his part, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed amplified the role of the creative industry in an economy in recession.
The creative industry is that low-hanging fruit that Nigeria can harness to actually come out of recession.
Aside from performances by Nigerian groups, there was a special performance by a Nigerian group from the Korean Embassy. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
In fulfillment of the assurances to assist Nigeria to develop its tourism master plan, the International Tourism Advisor to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, Jim Flannery, has arrived to Nigeria. Anthony Forson again reports that Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed received Jim Flannery in his office.
Jim Flannery, while exchanging views with the minister, said, contrary to expectations to review the Nigeria Tourism Master Plan, the document, he said, is perfect and captures all that is needed to be captured. Its delay in implementation was what hampered it. He said what he has come to do is to fast-track the takeoff of the implementation.
Let's identify things which can be done quickly to show that we can do the things and show that we can create new products, we can open new markets.
He said what he has come to do is to fast-track the takeoff of the implementation of the master plan for optimal results. Expressing satisfaction with Jim Flannery's submission, the Information and Culture Minister said the United Nations World Tourism Organization has lived up to its words, a testimony that with tourism, Nigeria can grow its economy and create direct jobs for its teeming population.
Is the first concrete evidence that yes, truly, all that I say we were able to achieve. And our July meeting with UNWTO is true. And that's why I'm particularly glad.
He assured that all impediments to slow the process will be fast-tracked, especially in the country's visa regime policy. The cheering news the minister unveiled is that another group will trail Jim Flannery's visit. That group, he said, will stay for upward of 1 year, training and building capacity for tourism in Nigeria. In Abuja, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Let's turn to activities on the Senate. Senate President Bukola Saraki has reaffirmed that everything will be done to ensure that the Nigerian customs plays the pivotal role expected of it as a major contributor to the federal budget. He stated this at a public hearing on Customs and Excise Management Act Repeal and Enactment Bill 2016. National Assembly correspondent Ifeanyi Zumba reports.
The hearing is to help shape a law that will reinvent the customs service for efficiency and effectiveness as major revenue earner. Senate President Saraki pointed out that for the critical role of the service, the bill is one of their key agenda.
Aside from revenue, customs plays a role also in our government economic policy. It is capable of funding at least 50% of our national budget. This should also be a critical department that should boost the non-oil revenue of government and fund infrastructural development.
Central Bank of Nigeria, represented by the Acting Director, Trade and Exchange Development, is of the opinion that collection of public trade statistics be done by the National Bureau of Statistics instead of Nigerian Customs.
We noted that some key stakeholders are excluded. For instance, we will require that the chairman of the board should be Minister of Finance and possibly include Accountant General of the Federation as a member of the board.
Other contributions from stakeholders.
Rather than auction it cheaply, and the goods will still find itself in the market. If the person has a layout of about 50 million on his cargo, and you're going to sell it for maybe 800,000, does it make sense? Government is not even making money out of it. That's why we say they should now go and look at that system and change the regime for anything that has to do with auction.
It is expected that the hearing will give birth to opinions that will help build a more resilient custom and excise regime that will serve the country's need for a stronger economy, accountability, and transparency in money matters. From the National Assembly, Ifeanyi Zumba, NT News.
Chairman House Committee on Insurance Adekunle Akinlade has assured the management of the NTA of a better insurance cover for staff and equipment. He said this when the committee visited the corporate headquarters of the NTA in Abuja on an oversight function. Adebola Brooksland Sunday was there.
The committee members were taken round on a guided tour of facilities, which include the high-definition studio, master control room before proceeding to Wonder Cube at the multi-channels. Chairman of the committee was briefed on the functionability of each equipment and the status of their insurance cover.
We will make sure that we provide full support. We're trying to create synergy with MDAs in this regard to make sure that we create, enabling environment for these organizations and institutions to work, to perform maximally. And we know by doing that, of course, it's going to be for the betterment of all of us. So if we look at these equipments and we're able to see where we could have to upgrade this equipment so that they can actually cover them adequately, we will be able to recommend.
The DG speaks on NTA's readiness for digital switchover.
The government is poised. Nigeria should transit by June of next year. And government is leaving no stones unturned to make sure that this objective is realized.
Members had earlier met with the management of the NTA, where the need for proper documentation leading to policy formulation was discussed extensively. Director General of the NTA, Yakubu Ibn Mohammed, thereafter assured that management will present a position paper to the committee soonest. Adebola, Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
Let's talk election now. Last-minute campaigns in Ghana, battle has now shifted to the ballot box to determine who will lead Ghana for the next 4 years as campaigns ended Monday ahead of Wednesday's general election. Mohammed Ali reports that the top two political parties were involved in last-minute campaigns to convince Ghanaians to vote for their candidates.
From whichever way you approach Ghana, the sea, land or air, you can't miss the political activities taking place across the 10 regions of the gold-rich country. Ghanaians are going to the poll on Wednesday, 7th December, to elect president and members of the parliament. That explains the excitement on the streets. The two main political parties, the ruling National Democratic Congress, NDC, and the major opposition party, New Patriotic Party, were engaged in rallies and campaigns till the last day allowed by the Electoral Act. While the NDC say continuity is needed to consolidate on gains they feel have been achieved by the Mahama-led government, the NPP is saying, though not quite visible like the two main parties, 5 other candidates, including an independent candidate, a woman, and a physically challenged, also campaigned to woo electorates who are expecting a hitch-free election.
We want everything to be peaceful.
And I hope our leaders' utterances is supposed to be very unifying.
The process so far, so very good.
They are also preaching about peaceful conduct of the election, and that shows that they will work it up by ensuring that the elections are conducted peacefully. In Accra, Ghana, Mohammed Ali, NTA News.
Thank you, Mohammed. Head of the Civil Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, has reiterated federal government's commitment to providing affordable houses for civil servants through the federal government integrated housing program, FESH. Mrs. Oyoita stated this when she received an estate developer in Abuja. Adebola Brooksland Sunday reports.
Standing on the vision of President Muhammadu Buhari in providing affordable housing for Nigerians, she noted that the provision of housing for Nigerians is one of the critical areas of intervention identified by the present administration. The reason for partnership with credible developers.
We are already discussing with the management of the Federal Mortgage Bank to provide mortgage loan facilities at a very reduced interest rate for civil servants.
The developer Adebola Sheidu assures Mrs. Oyoita of delivering the first 1,000 houses in the city center in 6 months.
We don't intend to reduce our quality, but we intend to reduce the price and make it affordable. The Federal Civil Service have offered to help us to bring down our cost of construction by getting involved in some process of the infrastructure.
Chairman of the Fish Program and the Federal Government Staff Housing Loans Board, Yemi Adelakun, briefed newsmen on behalf of the head of the Civil Service of the Federation.
The cost element that is very, very important in house delivery of affordable housing is land. The head of service have written and spoken with the FCT minister to give us land, which is about 30% cost of the house price.
Record shows that over 8,000 civil servants have so far registered for the Fish Program. Adebola, Brooksland Sunday, NTA News.
The Nigerian Immigration Service has promised to ensure the ease of doing business in the country through process reforms and attitudinal change in its officers as windows who have been asked to issue corruption and unethical conduct. Comptroller General of the service, Mohammed Babandede, was speaking on the need for professionalism when he decorated newly promoted officers at the service headquarters in Abuja. Justin Bemunyi reports.
3,218 officers and men were promoted, including 13 Assistant Comptrollers General and 37 Comptrollers. Decorating these newly promoted in the presence of their spouses, families and friends, the Comptroller General of the service challenged every one of the officers to brace up and deal with the key issues of global migration crisis, implementation of strategic plan against terrorism, border security and internal monitoring. Most importantly, he said, is the need for officers to completely change their alleged awful attitudes that mar the image of the country so as to boost the business prospects in the country.
We are the face of this government. Anybody who travels 6 hours, 12 hours, lands at the airport, what that person expects is a warm welcome by an immigration officer.
The Comptroller General said plans are also underway for the service to launch a command and control center early next year to enhance monitoring of activities real time.
We promise to make our offices customer-centric.
Consequently, the officers are already in tune with the Comptroller General on reform policies aimed at repositioning the institution for quality service delivery. In Abuja, Justin Bemunyi, NTA News.
The Federal Ministry of Agriculture says it has commenced the purchase of grains towards stocking half silos as directed by the presidency. Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Audowe, who said this at a news briefing, noted that under ECOWAS treaty, Nigeria cannot close its doors on her neighbors, especially on the supply of agricultural produce. Musa Baba Aliyu reports.
Even though the demand by our neighbors is putting pressure on the local supply, we are still aware and confident that this is a market economy. We will not interfere with the trading.
The Minister of Agriculture is referring to Article 2 of ECOWAS Treaty that abolishes quantitative and administrative restrictions on trade among member states. Nigerians have continued to express concerns over neighboring countries' high demand and supply of agricultural produce from Nigeria. The Minister of Agriculture, Audowe, however, says there is no cause to worry about the situation.
We have 33 silo sites in the country with a total capacity of nearly 2.5 million tons of grains. We have made arrangements with some governors to go back again and start planting even before Christmas. Planting millet, planting maize, and planting sorghum, so we can have a second crop by March, April.
Meanwhile, the Open Forum for Agriculture and Biotechnology in Nigeria has commenced discussion on ways of ensuring that farmers have access to quality and improved seeds to boost farmers' production. The forum was to create synergy to unlock biotechnology opportunities in Nigeria. In Abuja, Musa Baba Aliyu, NTA News.
This is the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Stay tuned for more stories in a moment.
Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service, NAS, is a regulatory agency of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture charged with the responsibility of safeguarding the nation's agricultural economy. Therefore, the federal government wants all exporters, importers, customs license clearing agents, logistics and warehouse managers, and producers of all agriculture products to pass through NAS for quarantine inspection and certification before customs clearance. NAS is the only agency that issues phytosanitary certification necessary for the exportation of plant products. So, all agro produce must pass through the agency for quarantine inspection and certification. Nigeria must produce quality food, eat quality food, and export quality food. This is in line with the federal government's quest to make Nigeria a net exporter of quality food. Join Nigeria Agricultural Quarantine Service to move Nigeria forward.
NTA International News. Africa as it is.
And for an update on financial issues, let's join Ede Ao.
Thank you. A very warm welcome to Business News. Central Bank of Nigeria has organized special foreign exchange auction aimed at meeting a backlog of demand by fuel importers. The Governor, Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, requested banks to submit bids for a special currency auction to meet demand for matured letters of credit. Meanwhile, oil prices dipped on Tuesday as crude output rose in every major export region, despite plans by OPEC and Russia to cut production. International Brent crude oil traded at $54.64 per barrel, down 30 cents from Monday's close, while West Texas Intermediate was $51.39 a barrel, down 40 cents. To wrap up business news, here is a quick check on commodity prices and the closing figures of activity on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. That's it on business news. The rest of the news continues. I am Ede Ao.
The Federal Road Safety Corps, FRSC, has dissociated itself from rumors making the round that the Corps has distributed arms to its officers and men and urged Nigerians to disregard such claims as there is no basis of truth in it. In a statement issued in Abuja, the head media relations and strategy of the Corps, BC Kazim, clarified that the Corps Marshal of FRSC, Boboye Oyeyemi, was misquoted when he decried the number of his staff that were killed by errant motorists avoiding arrests, which he said would have been avoided if the Corps were to bear arms. He further stressed that even though the operatives of the Corps have undergone regular arms training at different intervals from 1992 and more recently too, the Corps has no plan to include it as a part of the operations at the moment. With reference to the amendment of the FRSC Establishment Acts of 2007, which permits road traffic managers to bear arms in the same manner other sister agencies do, BC Kazim stated that it has never been the priority of the Corps under the leadership of past and present Corps Marshals to implement it. Over now to Oku Ekpeyong for stories from other parts of the globe.
The first Lord's Resistance Army commander, Dominic Onwen, is the first child soldier to be tried by the International Criminal Court in The Hague. He faces 70 counts of war crimes and crimes against humanity in Uganda, more charges than any other suspect. Dominic Onwen was a boy of 10 when he was abducted and conscripted by the notoriously ruthless rebel cult. In Asia, the military says South Korea's cyber command set up to guard against hacking appears to have been breached by North Korea. The North has previously been accused of hacking into banks and media outlets, but never the South's military. Pyongyang has in the past rejected allegations of cybercrime involvement. And in Germany, Chancellor Angela Merkel says full face covering is not appropriate and directed that the rule is to show your face. Oku Ekpeyong, NTA News.
It's time now for a quick check on Wednesday's weather prospect for Nigeria and some world cities.